This is The Origin of the Domestic Dog by Julio Serrato, Biology 1409 for our Professor Cantu. Divergence from wolves. It is thought that the domestication of animals started over 15,000 years before the present, starting with the gray wolf Canis lupus by nomadic hunter-gatherers. The gray wolf followed humans and traveled with them for the benefit of food that humans would leave or by animals they could prey on while being around humans. Although the relationship was more beneficial for wolves than humans, humans received one less predator because of this. It is still debated as to the exact date of the lack of specimen. Origin. It is thought that the origin of the dogs came from during the wolf population of the late Pleistocene. Earliest fossils of Canis lupus come from eastern Beringia in Canada and at Cripple Creek Sump in Alaska. It is worth noting that the differences between modern wolves and Pleistocene wolves is that ancient wolves showed tooth breakage that is similar to dire wolf, and this suggests that either they ate carcasses or that they fought with other carnivores and quickly ate their food. In this picture, you can see the decay of the ancestor dog's teeth. Since we don't have a picture of what the relationship of the ancestral dogs and humans had, I felt that this was a good representation of that. DNA Explanation Part 1. Numerous genetic studies have found that the dogs from Southeast Asia and South China show more genetic diversity than those dogs from the regions, suggesting that this was the place of their origin. In 2002, a study of maternal mitochondrial DNA found that there was a lot of haplotypes of DNA in East Asia than in other regions of the world. In 2009, a study found similar results in Africa or African village dogs. That same year, another study found the greatest mDNA diversity could be found in dogs that were from Southeastern Asia, south of the Yangtze River. DNA Explanation 2. In 2015, a whole genome analysis of indigenous dogs from China and Vietnam were compared with indigenous dogs from Africa. Based on the whole study, they concluded that dogs originated in southern East Asia, which mean that the migration of subset of ancestral dogs starting in 15,000 YBP went to the Middle East, Africa, and finally reaching Europe by 10,000 YBP. Then one of these lineages migrated back to northern China and admixed with endemic Asian lineages before migrating to the Americas. And this picture here is of two double helix DNA being compared to each other. DNA Explanation Part 3. Asian origin has been questioned since European fossils have been found dating 15,000 YBP. The response to this has been that perhaps the environmental conditions in southern East Asia don't preserve fossils. Since there is primitive forms of the dog in Europe in the past, the genetic evidence still indicates that this was due to migration of them coming from East Asia, and this would imply two origins of the dog. In 2017, a study was found that sample DNA from East Asia indigenous dogs were compared to other dog breeds in other geographic regions. The author of the study stated, such dramatic differences in genetic diversity can be influenced both by ancient and recent history of inbreeding. The pic is to the right is the artist's rendering of what an ancestral Pleistocene dog would look like. Outcome of the DNA. Most studies conducted in the last 2 decades based on modern dog breeds wolf population were dependent on assumptions. The studies showed that the wolf was the ancestor of the dog, and they did not consider genetic admixture or presence of DNA in an individual from a distant related population or species. Most of these studies have suggested that the origin can either be Southeast Asia, East Asia, Central Asia, the Middle East, or Europe. A picture to the left is the skull of an ancestral dog was being examined for its DNA purposes. Two Origins, Part 1. Dogs showed both ancient and modern lineages. It is said that the ancient lineage appears in most Asia and less in Europe because of the Victorian age development which bred more modern dogs and less ancient lineages. All dog populations showed evidence of genetic admixture between ancient and modern dogs. Studies also suggest that some ancient dogs populations that once occupied Europe and the New World no longer exist. This implies that some of the ancient dog populations were entirely replaced and other admixes over a long period of time. European dog populations have undergone extensive turnover during the last 15,000 years, which has erased the genomic signature of early European dogs. That, that the genetic heritage of the modern breeds has become blurred due to admixture. Two Origins, Part 2. The study of the modern dog in ancient European dogs showed most modern European dogs had undergone population bottleneck, which means sharp reduction in size, which can be an indication of travel. Further analysis shows that there are only remains in the range of 12,500 to 15,000 in eastern Eurasia, but none are older than 8,000 in Central Asia, stating that they may have been two genetic distinct and now extinct wolf populations. So to reiterate, the hypothesis that two genetically different and possibly now extinct wolf populations were domesticated independently in eastern and western Eurasia to produce Paleolithic dogs. The East Asian dogs followed humans to the west of Europe around 64 to 14,000 years ago, where they replaced the Western Paleolithic dogs. The picture in the middle is of a cave painting of what could have been a dog. Two Origins disputed. In 2017, a study compared the sequence of the three ancient dog specimens being observed for their nuclear genome. The study observed 5,000 dogs and wolves from Germany and Ireland. These samples from dogs were dated from 7,000 YBP and 4,700 YBP from Germany and 4,800 YBP from Ireland. The study found that the modern European dogs descended from the Neolithic ancestors with no evidence of population turnover. The three dogs indicated ancestry that would be found in Southeast Asia dogs. One of them showed ancestry that could be found in the Middle East, India, and Central Asia. The study did not support a dual domestication event and descended admixture between ancestors of modern European and Southeast Asian dogs. And the picture at the bottom just shows humans and dogs working together for survival, which would indicate that theory. Dog domestication. There's clear evidence that dogs were derived from gray wolves during the initial phase of domestication and that no other canine species was involved. The wolf populations that were involved are likely to be extinct, despite numerous genetic studies of both modern dogs and ancient dog remains. There is no firm consensus regarding either the timing or locations of the domestication. The number of wolf populations that were involved or the long-term effects domestication has on the dog's genome. Genetic studies suggest a domestication process commencing over 25,000 YBP in one of several wolf populations in either Europe, the high Arctic, or Eastern Asia. The remains of large carcasses left by humans and hunter-gatherers may have led some wolves into entering migration relationships with humans. A closer relationship between these wolves and humans may have then developed, such as hunting together and mutual defense from carnivores and other humans. Then around 10,000 YBP, agriculture was developed, which led to non-nomadic lifestyles. Time of domestication. In 2015, a study took place that took the samples of 555 modern and ancient dogs. The study showed an increase in population around 23,500 YBP, which is probably due to separation of wolf to dog. Then an even bigger increase in population size occurred after 15,000 YBP, which could have been to domestication events consisting of the dependence of humans and their population. Getting along. Humans and wolves have existed in complex social groups. How humans and wolves got together remains unknown. One view holds that domestication as a process that is difficult to define. One view states that wild animals were bred for the purpose of domestication. Although the view might make sense for small animals, the alternate view, which hold a higher hypothesis, is that they were able to socialize, to live among humans that they know, but be unsocialized to strangers. That before there could have been domestication of the wolf, there had been have been in its socialization. Okay, this is works cited, and thank you for your time.